Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today is General Harimohan Iyer. General Shankar and General Raj Shukla are traveling, so they can't make it today. Let's welcome General Harimohan Iyer. Namaskaram, sir. How are you?
Namaskar. Nice to be back on your show.
Thank you so much, sir. I just want to dial back a little bit in history to understand the relevance of who controls Pakistan. Sir, if you remember, during Zia time, Afghanistan invasion happens, and it's all captured nicely in that movie called Charlie Wilson's War, where they offer, I think, $50 million or something to help Pakistan manage the inflow of refugees from Afghanistan into Pakistan. And Zia-ul-Haq dismisses it, saying that this is peanuts. And then they come there, a senator comes, a congressman comes, they take a look at it, and then they approve $3 billion. But who does that money go to? Not to the army, it goes to the ISI. So what I'm trying to say is, the person who is the boss in Pakistan is not decided by Pakistan, not even by the Pakistani army. In my book, I think the United States decides who shall be the one who will be getting the money. My 2 cents, sir, I could be naive. Set me straight, sir. What was this new move?
So thanks for having me back on your show. And it's very rare to have the gunner site with a single speaker. So I'll try to fill in for your 2 opening batsmen, because I generally come at one drop, by which time most of the runs and the asking rates have been scored. That notwithstanding, I'll take a few minutes to just put your audience into a little picture into how Pakistan actually runs.
Yeah.
If you go back to 1947, after the independence, both the Indian and Pakistani armies were, commanded by British generals.
Yeah.
So while the Indian army shifted to an Indian general immediately in 1948, the Pakistani army continued to be commanded by a British general for 2 tenures. There were 2 British generals who were in charge of the Pakistan army till 1952. And there is also a talk that in one way, British and the West were wanting to keep a foot somewhere in the region, because it was strategically extremely important for them. And since India wasn't playing ball, they felt Pakistan, by its own nature, the way it was created, and since it was created by the British to appease a section of the population, they felt that they will get what they expect from them. And in 1952, if I'm not wrong, the first Pakistani general, Ayub Khan, took over. And I look at Ayub Khan as another de facto British make, because he came from the same breed as any British Indian army officer of those days. The peculiar thing to remember is, not only did he become the CNC, he also became the defense minister. So that is the time when the military and the politics, they came together. So when positive and negative, they join together, you only get sparks. And that is what has been happening in Pakistan ever since. So Ayub Khan de facto ran Pakistan for 5 years. And then he found that his writ was not happening. There were large amount of riots and discomforts in Pakistan. So he took over formally in 1958 or 59, if I'm not wrong, as the Chief Martial Law Administrator. He imposed martial law. And that stayed for 10 years with Ayub Khan. In 1969, he handed over to his prodigy Yahya Khan, who is also credited with the chief who discredited the Pakistan army in 1971. And then, because the army had got discredited for a brief period, that is 72 to 76, we had a very powerful politician in Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who managed to try and create a political dominance over the Pakistan army. Then Bhutto did that big flaw by bringing in Zia-ul-Haq from below and made him the chief. Possibly Bhutto felt that by doing that, he'll be able to control the army. And Zia-ul-Haq, who was working on an agenda, overthrew the political dispensation, took over and again imposed martial law in 1976, which went on till 1988. And since the time Zia-ul-Haq has taken over, whether directly or indirectly, Pakistan has been controlled by the army. And since 1980, when the Afghanistan issue came about, to a large extent, the United States has been involved in some way or the other as far as Pakistani administration is concerned. Sometimes one feels that the United States finds it easier to deal with a Pakistani general in control than a politician in place. So whether it was Musharraf or Kayani or Kamar Bajwa or Asim Munir, it's always been that the United States has not had any hesitation in dealing with a man in uniform in Pakistan. So that in nutshell, if I was to put together, has been what Pakistan's landscape, a political landscape, which is controlled by the men in khakis. And they control everything in Pakistan. And the funny thing is, since the economy is controlled by them, so whether Sri Iyer says the money goes to ISI or the army, it is going to the same house. Only the door from which it enters is different. Some money which goes directly to the army has to be shown, and some money possibly which goes underground, gets covered. So to that extent, Pakistan has been living up, and they have been also been masterful in the way they look after the people who look after them. So whether it was the Americans for over 3 to 4 decades, then the Chinese, the Pakistan army and Pakistan dispensation per se has been more than welcome to take care of them as hosts. They do not even hesitate in giving them any kind of privileges or facilities, whether it be in terms of transferring land, the way they did it to the Chinese in the garb of CPEC, transferring bases, the way they did it to the Americans, both during the first and second Afghan war. And of course, they have been willing to even let go of natural resources, which by way of which they are able to get some more money. So all in all, when you look at it, the Pakistan army has been the one which has been at the helm in Pakistan for the last 5 to 6 decades, but for that small brief period which I mentioned when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was in charge. Many people argue that, after Zia-ul-Haq died and before Musharraf came, there was a political dispensation. But you must remember the way both Nawaz and
Sharif.
and Bhutto, they were, playing musical chairs, the Prime Minister's chair, every 2 years.
Oh, Benazir, you mean? Yeah.
Benazir, yes. Benazir and Nawaz Sharif, both of them, I think they had 3 terms each in that 12-year period. So you can well imagine who was controlling the chords on top. So that's what basically the problem with Pakistan. And the second issue is the public. They have a lot of faith in the army. But for that period of 1971, when the army had to surrender, and that was possibly taken as the period when public lost faith with the army, that if you take out today, if one person the Pakistan public is willing to lay their bets on, is the army. So that is what is the overall landscape in which Pakistan has been in the last since existence. I leave it at that. Now coming on to the basic topic of today of Asim Munir. Asim Munir is another Zia-ul-Haq. If I was to put a equation together, he was supposed to have retired. He's exceeded the age by when he was brought back and given the promotion as the chief. He was not the chief in the 9 of succession. Firstly, Kamar Bajwa had an extended tenure, and large number of generals who were likely to succeed him retired in the period. And Nawaz Sharif selected Asim Munir, who was not in the happy books of large number of people, particularly the PTI. And he became a kind of a stooge for Nawaz Sharif because Nawaz Sharif was struggling to find political relevance at that time. And he was still struggling to come back into the system. So whether it is Shehbaz Sharif or Nawaz Sharif makes no difference because they're the same coin. Whether it's heads on both sides, if I was to use the word. In fact, Shehbaz Sharif is actually a little watered down effect of Nawaz Sharif. So when he was selected as the chief in 2022, there was a huge amount of uproar, both within and outside the Pak army establishments. And that was also the time when Imran Khan, who was actually trying to resurrect himself from all those allegations which were being put on him. And he was fighting court cases. And they had an election, a sham of an election, which firstly PTI was not allowed to fight on the symbols. Most of their candidates fought as independents. And as one was to believe, if you was to believe what is coming out in various media, it was the PTI candidates which won the majority. But the army through Asim Munir was used to rig that entire elections by using what is called Form 47, if I'm not wrong. That is the thing which Pakistan government says. And large number of votes were, brought in, and Imran's party was defeated, and a shabby coalition led by Shehbaz Sharif was installed. And this is something when I say 2023, Imran Khan is arrested, put in jail. There's huge amount of uproar. Within the ranks, also, you find there are people within the army who are not happy with the way things were working because many of them felt Imran Khan was the rightful prime minister who should have been, there. But that having said, Asim Munir was in a bad shape to an extent that there was huge amount of bad mouth within the army, and there was a talk that up to he was not even trusting his own corps commanders. And if you recollect, somewhere in November last year, when there was a huge uproar in Pakistan, when the corps commander's house, etc., were, raided by people, activists, the march, which I think it was October 23, if I'm not wrong. And that is the time when Asim Munir was in huge amount of pressure. And coming into this year, there was a talk that he doesn't even trust his own residential guard. He's controlling the number of people who are close to him because he was worried that somebody is going to assassinate him. That having been said, the April 15th speech was possibly the start point of the new Asim Munir graph. And I've been saying it everywhere, including your show. April 15th, he speaks, then Pahalgam happens. He needed possibly just that spark to give some kind of a weightage to himself. If you go back in history, Pakistan Army has given a kind of a sweet pill to the Pakistani public that they actually won the 1965 war. When the Indian Army was at the doorstep of Lahore, they could have, taken out Lahore, but for international intervention, India would have possibly taken out Pakistan in 1965. But they got a favorable response at Tashkent, whatever reasons it was. And they have given the sweet pill that, Pakistan Army won the 1965 war. The same formula has been used even this time. Operation Sindoor, they were looking for an opportunity to try and showcase that the army is the savior. And like I keep saying this, possibly we lost out on our narrative bit on May 7th and 8th, which was usefully utilized by Asim Munir and his gang. DGISPR went hammer and tongs at whatever they were trying to paint. International media latched on to whatever DGISPR said, which possibly was engineered by Munir. And he was able to sell his achievements as the leader of the armed forces. And Pakistan continues to call itself possibly the winner in this so-called engagements. Despite the fact that all their air bases went down on 9/10, despite the fact that they had to come and ask for a ceasefire, something which India had offered on the morning of May 7th, they continue to call out that they were possibly the ones who were dominating in these 4 days of conflict. What happens after that? Because he has to showcase himself and he has a puppet prime minister in place, he gets himself placed as the field marshal. Now, please remember, a field marshal never retires. He stays in uniform throughout his life. So today, Asim Munir, with or without this amendment, has managed to get himself immunity for life. So only way he can be, removed from that from power is if you have a very, very powerful political upheaving, and he is forced to, go out of Pakistan. If he stays in Pakistan, nobody can, touch him today. That is the place where he has put himself. So let's come down to this particular activity that happened last week. So this 27th amendment of the, I don't know which constitution they have amended, but they have had so many of them. So the 27th amendment, which gives him the power of the Chief of Defense Forces. Now I was wondering to myself, I heard the President of the United States mention in one of his speeches that, they have a field marshal and he's a field marshal because he's a very big fighter, this and that. So what did he do in Operation Sindoor that, he got to get that appointment of field marshal? To get to a field marshal's rank, you have to have a campaign victory, whether it was Montgomery or Rommel. They all had, or for that matter, even Slim, they all had major campaigns which to show, where they had articulated their capacities as a general on ground. What this gentleman did was some banyan and chaddi action, which I don't know what it was. Whatever missiles he fired got, either they went into air or they were knocked off somewhere. Nothing happened to India. But he again managed to use his DG ISPR to put himself as a major contributor. Assuming that something possibly did happen on the night of May 7th and some aircrafts did possibly get shot, I will not like to presume beyond that. Asim Munir had nothing to do with it. It was the Pakistani Air Force which was in the air. So what gave him the right to become a field marshal? That's why in India we call him the field marshal, because there is nothing to, prove that he deserves this appointment or the rank that he is, given himself. So today, if I look back, this 27th amendment takes it to the second level beyond the rank of field marshal. He is anointed himself as the chief of Pakistani Defense Forces. Now, this is again something which is really funny because I don't know, Shri Ayerji, do you remember any Pakistani Air Force air marshals? Anybody since the last 50, 75 years? At least I don't remember.
Air Marshal Asghar Khan. I think he decided to run politics. That was the one name I remember.
That is the one name you remember. I don't think anybody remembers any air marshal, air chief marshal, or an admiral. So they are non-entities in Pakistan because they don't control the government. They are always been one level below the Chief of Army Staff. Chief of Army Staff not only controls the government, he controls the finances, he controls the economy, he controls everything, the Fauj per se. So why this new charade of Chief of Defense Forces when he was anyway Chief of Defense Forces? About 2 decades ago, they created this appointment of Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was a 4-star general. And there is one gentleman who's sitting there, I believe, getting his name. So he's another specimen of himself, when he opens, he was in Bangladesh recently and he made some noises there. So I don't know what 4-star general he is.
Oh, that Chaudhry guy. Was it Chaudhry?
Shabir or somebody. I think Shabir.
I see.
So this gentleman, I don't know what chief or joint chief of staff he is, because he can't even move a pin from place A to place B without Asim Munir clearing it. He wears a 4-star rank. He carries out like a general, but he's basically a stooge. So today, Asim Munir takes over that appointment of Chief of Defence Forces primarily because somewhere in January of this year, when there was huge amount of negativity going around about Asim Munir, there was a group of ex-Pakistani officers, and I have been following them on social media, so I learned from whatever I have heard from them. They were trying to ask him to overthrow Munir and take over the job of Chief of Army Staff. So this was being discussed today, and possibly Munir feels or fears that this guy may have not had the gumption to do it, but he never knows the next guy who's put in that chair possibly will have ambitions, because every Pakistani general wants to be the one having the key. So you never know who's going to do takta palat there, and they come from that lineage of Mughals, so they have that. They don't even spare their own brothers and sisters. You have obtained examples of Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb, and all that. That notwithstanding, he's worried, much worried as to whether this number two guy is going to be playing ball with him. So this appointment, which he's taken Chief of Defence Forces, he's actually made him a worthless appointment today, because he now has formally assumed the command of Air Force and Navy, and of course a large number of Pakistani paramilitary forces, which means that today, whether it's at district level or at state level or at national level, and even I will say at international level, because wherever Pakistan army troops, whether it's in the Gaza or in Saudi Arabia, where they're going to send their troops, the one person who will have the key to decide who should go where and where the money should come from is all Asim Munir. To add to it, he is, so like somebody said, this is one of the most idiotic legal decision which has been passed in the Pakistan Parliament, because now he's got the legal cover to his appointment also. So till now, the way, whether it was Zia-ul-Haq or Pervez Musharraf, the courts were always, something they were worried about, that they will pass a judgment against their writ. And the emergency powers, etc., which they were used to put martial law, can come under question in the courts. But this gentleman has now ensured that one option is also being closed, because this is a legal anointment today, that he's got an act to support him where he is. So what does it change? That's what your topic says. Is it be all end all? Of course it is. It is nothing that changed from 2022 to now. It has always been be all end all. So he still continues to hold the thumb, and he continues to control everything in Pakistan, starting from appointments of his own armed forces. Now he'll also be involved in ensuring who becomes Air Chief Marshal and who becomes the next Admiral in Pakistan Air Force and Navy. That is part of the 27th Amendment. So today he becomes the superpower or superman in Pakistan, controlling everything. He is anyway controlling the sham of a prime minister that they have, who's dancing to his tunes whenever he wants to. He is the man who decides who goes where, and it's not that first time. I must narrate an incident which I saw, somewhere in 2007. I was in the staff college as an instructor in staff college in Wellington, and the Pakistani ambassador was a guest speaker. So this defense attaché had come along with him, and it was the period of that Ramzan period, Rosa period. So initially we were told that this guy wants to sit on the stage along with the ambassador. So the brigadier Saab was told, no, only the ambassador can sit on the stage. You have to sit along with the audience. And I noticed this guy used to send notes, handwritten notes, to the ambassador, and the ambassador was opening those notes and reading out from them. So you can well imagine an ambassador who's, if I was to put at it in Indian terms, a secretary level bureaucrat being controlled by a brigadier, a junior level officer. So it's nothing new. The Pakistan army controls everything in Pakistan. It is beyond saying. How they control legally or illegally is the question. And now Asim Munir with this amendment has made it legal. It can only change if they make another change in terms of another amendment or they change the constitution again. And I'm not worried on that because the way Pakistan changes its constitution, you never know. Tomorrow there may be a new constitution in place, and this 27th amendment, along with the rest of the things, will all go into the dustbin. And possibly the chief will come back to where he was. I'm not too sure how the Air Force chief and the naval chiefs are taking about it. Last week, if you recollect in your own program, we were discussing about theaterization and theaterized commands and all that.
Yes,
In
yes.
India, when we have, all equals, you have three, top people putting their own foot down and saying, no, I will not accept it. I'm surprised in Pakistan, the naval and the Air Force chief have, cowed down to this gentleman and agreed to everything in his term. How long will they agree? These are question marks. Will the Pak Armed Forces agree to this? Because this gentleman, I don't know. Now he's the Field Marshal, he'll stay in uniform. He said he'll continue to be Chief of Army Staff, so there's not going to be anybody who's going to be promoted to the rank of the Chief. Excuse me. Nobody will get promoted. So many generals are going to get laid out who'll retire down the line. I don't know how long this system is going to work. Musharraf ran it for 10 years. Zia ran it for 12 years. Ayub ran it for 10 years. So this guy has also got a lifeline. And he's already in the fourth year of his existence. Maybe 3-4 years down the line, either he'll be assassinated or he'll be exiled. Whichever it is, he'll have his day. So let's look at what happens to, let's say, firstly as India. It makes no difference to us. Because we always know that whether we are speaking to the Prime Minister or the President of Pakistan, his words have got no value. The words that have value are of people who are in the uniform. And we have had a period when we dealt with past dictators. Zia-ul-Haq, we have handled him. He was the most difficult of them. We handled him. And in fact, there was a time in 1988 when Zia-ul-Haq rushed to attend a cricket match in Jaipur because he was worried that there's going to be a war on the borders. So they are not supermen. That is first thing. Even Pervez Musharraf has dealt with India whether in uniform or out of uniform. He was holding up appointment and we were dealing with him. So tomorrow, if Asim Munir takes on the reins of the entire Pakistan as a nation, and if he is needed to be dealt with, we'll deal with him if required. So for India, I guess there's going to be no difference. Only difference is possibly when we deal with their ambassadors and bureaucrats. We don't have an ambassador, and we don't have a defense attaché also in India or in Pakistan. So as it is, we have hardly any connect with them. And I don't think the minister level any meeting happens, whether it is bilateral or multilateral events. So we talk to each other possibly only in venues like the United Nations, and that will continue. So there is going to be no major difference with the way we deal with them. Only difference is, like I see this flyer which you have put on the chat. You never know what is in the offing. And if they try to be funny with us, we have already declared that Operation Sindoor is still on, and we will deal with them the way India decides to deal with. So there's going to be no change with us. I am a little worried how US is going to deal with them, especially the current administration, because somebody who talks about peace, democracy, and anti-dictatorship and politics and all, I am seeing that he is changing the way Reagan did for a long time, the way Clinton did for some time, or the way even George Bush did for some time. I guess there will be something we need to watch as to how President Trump continues to deal with Pakistan as it is. The difference between those days and now is that he's going to be, controlling Pakistan from the background. So he has a puppet face in front who is going to be, standing everywhere the way he was licking in Gaza. He'll continue doing that. So that will continue happening. But the shots will be called from somebody who's in Rawalpindi. And incidentally, I'm told he's, trying to shift from Rawalpindi to Islamabad because he's worried that the next BrahMos strike might be on him. So I believe he is shifting his base also from Rawalpindi to Islamabad, which means he'll try and put himself in the middle of their diplomatic community to get that shield and survive should there be another conflict with India. It will be interesting times to see how America deals with it and how other nations deal with it, particularly the European Union, because there are some voices which don't accept people in uniform controlling countries. And if America goes around saying that Venezuela is not as an evil country because it is in control by a person who's not politically correct, or if Putin is not good, or if Xi Jinping is not good, and continues to say the Field Marshal is the right man to negotiate and talk with, so that will get called out. If not now, maybe in a year, 2 years' time. So we should now look at interesting times as to how things will go on from here. I finally would like to end by saying that what has happened with this 27th Amendment is Asim Munir covering his own base domestically. It has got no major implications in the international fora, especially to India, definitely no. I agree. Also feel it will have no effect for China also, because China is used to dealing with a uniformed man in place. USA, it'll be interesting to see how long they agree to it and how they navigate this change in control of system in Pakistan. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, now is the time one has to start watching as to what happens to those people who were, possibly very strong a year ago, possibly in a position to dominate the political spectrum a year ago, but have been marginalized in the last 6 to 8 months. How they reorganize themselves, particularly the PTI, or is there a new party which might, when Musharraf became the chief administrator, he never imposed martial law incidentally. But the PTI was the birth of that period. So I am looking at some other political forum coming in. How Balochistan and KPK are taken forward from here, that is very interesting times, because Afghanistan, Pakistan talks have failed.
Yes.
So there is going to be some degree of tension on the Western Front also. So in that kind of a scenario, with Eastern and Western Front both pulling at two directions, domestically also not stable, how this dispensation works. These are very interesting times. And for Pakistan watchers like me, it's going to be more reading and more analyzing. And hopefully some things will come very clear in the coming days. Thank you.
Sir, thank you so much. And even as we are doing this, there is news coming that there was a blast near Red Fort in Delhi. 8 to 9 people killed, 24 people injured. The police is just putting out a press conference now. We may have more details in a few minutes. Sir, this could be, I'm not saying this could be an act of terror, which means it's again what India has said, that could be treated as an act of war. I don't know. It's too early to jump to that conclusion. General Harimohan Singh, sorry, I keep saying Singh. I don't know why. I feel like you are a warrior, sir. General Harimohan Iyer, talk to us a little bit about this 1-star general, 2-star general, 3-star general, 4-star general, sir. My understanding, I'll tell you, and I could be very naive about it. Brigadier general is considered 1-star, major general 2 stars, lieutenant general 3 stars, and a full general is 4 stars. This is, sir, again, country to country, these things may change. Tell us a little bit about this.
So basically, it started with the way the star business came from the Americans who have these 4-star generals, 3-star generals, because they wear that on their shoulders, right?
Yeah.
As far as the Indian Army and to a large extent British Army and Pakistan Army is concerned, it's something which is, it deals with the way the hierarchy is. And you correctly pointed out, brigadier is the flag rank officer. So you get to fly a flag on your vehicle, on your residence also, if you are holding a command appointment as a brigadier. and it is equated to a single star. So just to clear that, today we have also taken a little lead from the Americans. For the last 2 decades or plus, we have started, showing that star along with the flag. Earlier possible times there was no star. Even on our the epaulets we were wearing on the
Lapels.
collars.
Yeah.
Earlier it used to be a single stripe. Then subsequently, because the Americans and the Chinese were doing it, the Indian Army has also shifted to a stage where the star is worn over there to show that he's a one-star rank officer, flag rank officer with a star. A major general is a flag rank officer with 2 stars. A lieutenant general is a flag rank officer with 3 stars. And a full general is a flag rank officer with 4 stars. As of now, especially at least in the Indian Army, we don't have a 5-star rank officer. But Asim Munir might become a 5-star rank officer, because in India the CDS is one of the 4-star rank officers. So he also wears only 4 stars on his collars and on his rank. As far as his pay and protocol is concerned, it's the same as the other generals. But Pakistan might see a 5-star general very soon.
So, sir, I looked at his recent picture where he was wearing a whole slew of medals. I thought by the time I'm done counting, the program will be over. It's that many medals that he wears. Anyway, sir, these things lose meaning after some time. Like you
No,
correctly said, it.
what
Sir.
happens is, there are 2 types of medals, and this also people should know. Yeah, I'm also reading. Yeah, there are 2 types of medals. There's something called a service medal. Let's say I went to a UN mission and served in a UN mission, I get a UN medal. So that's not a medal for any war or something which I won. It is for my
Right,
service
right.
I put in place. So I am also wondering, all these Pakistani generals. So, and there's a meme which going around in social media. The armies which are defeated the most, their generals wear the most amount of epaulets on their uniform, and the armies which don't get generally defeated, they wear simple uniforms. I personally believe in a very simple, straightforward uniform. It is more comfortable. Throughout my life, I followed that, and I guess that is the way Indian Army believes in this work.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a few questions from our viewers, and sir, a wonderful summary of what has happened in Pakistan. One question before we go to the main question. This was something that occurred to me. Were there any successful coups by generals over generals, or will we never know that?
No, there was in Pakistan itself. There was. So
Hmm.
if Yahya Khan took over from Ayub Khan, it is not that Ayub Khan called him and gave it to him. So, so it was either you give it and go, or you get killed and I'll take over. So there was. That's how Ayub Khan stepped out and Yahya Khan came in. So there will be, and there have been cases in Pakistan itself when a coup was tried on Musharraf. There was a uprising of some generals and colonels who tried to upstage Musharraf. There was this colonel in the 111 Brigade whose book in Musharraf's book it is there. So they were the people who were involved in trying to assassinate him. Those 3 assassination attempts which were done on his car blast and all. It's there all documented by Musharraf in his book. So the guy who's reading a martial law is not a guy who sleeps peacefully. He has worries that possibly the guard who's standing outside his home tomorrow might be the one who's going to knock him off, or the guard who's in his outrider in his motorcade might be the one who may have done some mischief in his car. So it's that the crown is never crown, something which is peaceful. It is always painful to these people, and they will die their own death. That's why Musharraf had such a painful last 4-5 years of his life, because the kind of stress he lived in those 8-9 years when he was controlling Pakistan, I'm sure it must have had a huge toll on him.
Thank you, sir. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Indeed, very true.
Exactly.
In fact, I'm wondering if it was a right move to move from Rawalpindi to Islamabad. Sir, you remember what Churchill said, right? Keep your enemies closer, keep your friends close, and your enemies closer. All his enemies are going to be in Rawalpindi, not in Islamabad.
So no, you see, Pakistan army. You must. That's a something you need to know. Pakistan army is controlled by those 8-9 corps commanders that he has.
Right.
Okay, And the most important corps commander is the guy who's sitting in Lahore.
Hmm.
Okay. So the guy, 4 corps commander who sits in Lahore, because he controls all the money and the wealth which
Hmm.
is in the business houses in Lahore. The second most important guy is the guy sitting in Gujranwala, because he is the guy who controls all the forces. And the most important guy, not a general but a brigadier, commander of the 111 Brigade, who reports directly to Rawalpindi. And he is the guy who gets the first vehicle outside the Prime Minister's house whenever the takeover has to happen. So whether it was Nawaz Sharif or Benazir Bhutto or Zulfikar Bhutto or whoever, the guy who docks on his doorstep is the colonel from 111 Brigade, followed by the brigade commander. And that is why 4 corps and these corps are very important. So they are the guys who are having all the control, because they are the guys who are looking at the next rank and succeeding. People sitting in Rawalpindi are all those booked and cooked people who possibly are going to retire before the chief hangs up. But he's not going to leave them in Rawalpindi. He'll take them all along with him to Islamabad. It's not that he's shifting his residence there; he's shifting his headquarters there. So that is the difference.
Wonderful, sir. Let's take a few questions now, please. Also, there's a small update. Looks like the blast happened in a moving car. Again, details are awaited. Very, very sad what has happened. If it is a moving car, that makes it that much more difficult what happened. So we'll wait for the details. Bobji wants to know, the generals talk about increasing the defense budget. The government is probably aware of that. What do you think is preventing the government from doing so?
See, and this question actually should be directed to General Raj Shukla. Because I've been, but that notwithstanding, having been his subordinate, I have some idea about basic thing is, when the defense budget grows, it is not just spending in defense; it is also investing in defense. It will also improve your defense exports. It will also bring in more money, and it will improve the way the growth happens in the country. So, to an extent, people say that an average for a power of India's stature, the defense budget should be around 2.5 to 2.75% of the GDP. Unfortunately, in India, we have so many other issues to take care of. There's such a large population, so education and health become a very, very, very expensive proposition, and we are due to create so much of infrastructure. But that having said, over a period of time, we've not seen a jump in the defense budget, but defense budget is definitely creeping. The difference doesn't show as percentage of the GDP, because our GDP is also growing very fast. We are the fastest growing economies of the world. So when you grow at 7%, if the defense budget is also not growing at that pace, it does not show. But in real terms, the defense budget has been growing year on year. And by and large, in the last 2 years, it has really given us the kind of leap that one wanted. Not at the degree at which people are asking for it, but to a very large extent, positive feeds have been there. And by doing some very, very good reforms in terms of the PSUs and the ordnance factories, the effects of that will start, becoming clearer in the years to come. And the kind of defense exports that have happened in the last 2 financial years are, testament to it, that defense growth in defense budget is good for the economy. That's the basic factor which I would like to emphasize on.
Venkatranga wants to know, could there be heartburn within the ranks of the army that can threaten Asim Munir?
Exactly. I'm waiting for the day, because every gentleman has his own ambition and own aspirations. So the person who was due to become Chief of Army Staff in 2025 now will not become, because Asim Munir has got this 2-year extension. So he will possibly retire. Now Asim Munir has to ensure that he's suitably entrenched in an appointment which is befitting the kind of expectation the gentleman wants, and it should also give him the kind of money. The whole thing is about money, and this is what General Shankar keeps saying, and this is something which I'll keep emphasizing. All these generals are, everybody's interested in money. They have a huge property both inside and outside Pakistan. Most of their families are living outside Pakistan. They are not interested in anything else but money. So if they are suitably compensated with money and some kind of protocol and rank, they possibly fall in line. And I don't deny that there may be somebody who not be happy with the compensation that he's been, given, and he may break ranks. But the point is, to break rank, he's got to have substantial support under him. So that was what a large number of them had last year, and they were all sidelined, over a period of time by Asim Munir. So today's set of generals that he's having are by and large towing his line. I believe there's one guy who's there, but rest of them are all by and large amicably with him. Even this one guy has said that you have to be very, be seen as an equal guy towards all kind of political forums. But besides that, I don't see any kind of a problem currently in the current thing. But tomorrow the same guy might change. So you never know. Like I said, every guy has ambitions. Every guy wants to go up to that on top of the summit of the peak. Thank you.
Now, the interesting thing is, after retirement, no matter how much money they have, they cannot be really seen in public. You saw what happened to Bajwa and his wife in a street in Paris. One Afghan immigrant tore them apart.
I saw that. I saw that video also. I saw that. It's not Afghan. I think it was a Balochi, if I'm not wrong, or maybe
Balochi. I see.
Balochi or a KPK guy. Yes. Basically, he tore him apart because he was annoyed by the way Pakistan responded to Gaza, and Bajwa was trying to pacify the guy. Bajwa is a very powerful man still. Let me be very clear. He is, and that is second thing which there in Pakistan. The chief who's exited is not cleared all his prodigies who are there down the line. So there are connects which continues to stay, and he will have his people in place. And if Munir doesn't play ball with him, possibly he'll create trouble. So whether it's Bajwa or to that many, a bigger danger is Rahil Sharif, who still continues to be chief of some Arabian army somewhere. I believe he's still making huge amount of money sitting in the Middle East. For last 7-8 years, he's sitting as a general over there, continues to control and command, I don't know what. But all of them are, and they get suitably placed. Even Bajwa, I'm sure, must be controlling something within the Fauj post-retirement. That is why he's also not vociferous in his expressions.
Sir, today morning I did a monologue on the real composition of the armies of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Qatar and UAE. And it's a very interesting program because they don't break it down that this country's armed forces are the ones actually being the foot soldiers. But people have told me that all these three countries, the majority of the foot soldiers are from Pakistan. Is it true, sir?
See, Saudi Arabia definitely. Qatar to some extent. UAE, I'm not too sure, but Oman, yes, to some extent, yes. Pakistani soldiers are mercenaries, and not only Pakistan, you'll find Bangladesh is also there. Bangladesh also sends its troops to these countries because they are outsourced workers, laborers. So I won't be surprised if they are there. Saudi Arabia definitely there. There used to be 2 divisions of Pakistan once upon a time in Saudi Arabia, which got watered down because they were finding the pressure. But I believe now again a division worth is already gone post that farce of an agreement, the effect of which came out within 2 weeks when Afghanistan attacked and Saudi Arabia said, "Thank you very much, I'm not going to interfere." So this is just something which is not new.
Sir, so you said the most important part very quickly. What did the Saudi Arabians say to Pakistan, sir?
No. You saw that when the attack happened from the Afghanistan side.
Yes.
Pakistan expected Saudi Arabia to rush in and mediate and all that. The Saudi Arabia said, this does not come under that pact. That pact is something totally different. So possibly they got Qatar and others to come and try and. In fact, Turkey came in with bigger support than Saudi Arabia in this current impasse. And even there, they have not been able to put pressure on Afghanistan to toe the line which Pakistan expected them to do. Even the current set of negotiations which were happening in Turkey have not happened with Pakistan's favor. And they are in for big trouble, I can assure you this.
Very, very interesting, because the data I got from the web is very, very less. I mean, it is not right.
Ceremonial.
So
their armies are ceremonial armies. See, Saudi Arabia, US has got so many bases. By and large, even the Americans have been outsourced because Saudi Arabia's only worry is Iran. They don't, and to some extent the Houthis. So the Americans said we will not look at Houthis. So the Pakis have been put there. So they'll keep getting killed with the Houthi engagements. The southern part of Saudi Arabia will all be, or the Yemeni side will all be taken on by the Paki soldiers. And the American bases which are there in Saudi Arabia ensures that Iran does not try something funny there. So that is how these, and that all these are paid soldiers. So that's how it is. The US wants to show its presence in the Middle East, so it wants those bases. So it continues to dominate that, because you must understand the energy flows into that famous Red Sea corridor, and
yes.
that is very critical for the West, and they will continue their bases wherever it is. But Pakistani soldiers are not meant for that. They'll be sent to all those battle areas which are dirty, where people get killed. So I believe there was a post I was seeing one of the space. I was hearing one of those spaces in Twitter Spaces where some families were up in arms with there were 10-20 soldiers who have died in Saudi Arabia, and I believe they have not got any compensation as yet. So there was a lot of noise being made as to people have not got their money, etc. So they will be only doing dirty work.
Next question, please. MVV Kiran wants to know, on the foreseeable future event when NAPAC IS dismembered, what happens to the CPEC investment? China won't let go of its investment that easily. Will it aid NAPAC or make deals with the new government?
See, what I have read, China, they speak less and do more. So it's very difficult to identify what's going in their heads. They never invest anywhere where they are not going. They are Shylocks, if I was to. And Shylock is a gentleman when you look at China. So they will squeeze out every yuan they have invested, every dollar they have invested in Pakistan, in whichever way it is. That having said, CPEC, if I was to say, it was a diversionary, primarily because China was struggling to get its Belt and Road initiative going. Whether it was the land-based Silk Route or the maritime route, they were struggling with it. They could not, progress it beyond the Central Asian republics, and they wanted to get an access to the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea, Middle East, and possibly CPEC. And CPEC is not something new. Karakoram Highway came about 4 decades ago, so it's not that something they have done immediately. And there have been many documents where they say they use Pakistan as one of their, prodigal states to be used against India when it comes. So they are investing into it, not to see it for today. They have put a large amount of things. They have looked much in future when they have put these investments, and I am very sure they will ensure that every penny that they have invested is realized, whichever way it is. So nothing comes for free, and I believe you must know this. Those 10 J10s or 20 J10s which they have given, if you see that agreement, they said these are only on lease and you have to pay for it. It does not come free to Pakistan. They'll take that money out. And God forbid if some of them have been destroyed by our aircrafts, they'll pay from their noses. I can't use the other word, but then you can understand what I'm trying to say.
Sir, I like your statement that compared to the Chinese, Shylock was a gentleman. Ashish wants to know why you all think Indian government institutions not doing their best.
I never said
we
that.
Didn't say that. We didn't say
never
that.
said
Ashish, not fair. Not fair. Yeah.
Not fair. No, I must put it on records. We have whether again this is something we must understand. We need not be gung ho about everything. Large number of noises are made with a silent mouth. You don't have to speak. If you see President Xi's demeanor and when he was meeting President Trump, and the entire talking was done by President Trump, but then you saw the final declaration, you realize how much yielding was done. So you don't have to be noisy with everything that you do. Large amount of successes happen when you do things silently, but you do with a planned manner. And the Indian government, I must, and it's not just this government. It's been, I must say this, that by and large, our governments have been steady in their whatever we do. Certain amount of noises, yes, political noises are required for everybody's survival in their respective domains. But that having said, as far as the armed forces are concerned, by and large, we know what to do, when to do, and how to do. And the government's support has always been with us. So that's not a very right way of expression that the government is not doing enough. The government is doing a lot.
Thank you, sir. It's for the Iyer, so that's for you and I, sir. I'll let you answer. Who is Munir, the modern Hiranyakashyap, who has no retirement nor death?
So it's the same thing Zia-ul-Haq thought. And I'm sure he was thinking for 10 years when he got aboard the C-130 with a crate of mangoes. And we know what happened after that. The same thing Musharraf thought when he was, when he declared himself president and he, removed the uniform. Within 2 years, he became history. So Hiranyakashyap is something which I don't think anybody can emulate in the current era. To a large extent, I look at, if somebody has been more prominent, you can look at Putin. I think he's been there for almost 3 decades now. So
yeah, 1999, I think, is when he came in first.
Almost 3 decades.
26 years. Yeah.
26 years.
Yeah.
And that's a very long reign for a politician or a man in command. But besides that, I don't see anybody lasting that kind of a distance, and definitely no man in uniform. I don't see a dictator or the person who uses coercion to gain respect, control, being able to control any populace for that period of time, because there is going to be an uprising. Whether it is visible uprising or silent uprising, these are only speculative events that we need to look at. But I don't see him maximum. I give Asim Munir a year or two beyond 2027, and I don't see him being in Pakistan. He'll possibly get exiled and possibly stay in Florida. I believe that's where I believe his family has moved. So you never know whether he stays there or he moves to South America, because I believe in Argentina also he is looking at some property. So we'll all wait and see how things move.
Sir, one question, since you talked about Zia-ul-Haq, I've read somewhere that the guy who succeeded Zia went in the same plane from headquarters to the place where they inspected the new tanks. But on the return, he decided to come on his own aircraft. And it's believed that aircraft was in the air when the mango-laden thing blasted, and it is supposed to have circled and then slowly just came down and crashed, something of that nature. Is that all true, sir?
I've also read in various, and unfortunately the internet wasn't so good. There was
exactly right.
So we had to only read from transcripts which are there. So this gentleman was the number 2. Okay. So he was not supposed to be there. That's the only reason why there is some speculation. But I believe Zia-ul-Haq had personally called him because the American ambassador who was showcasing the Abrams tank,
Rafael,
No, there was the Abrams tank. The Abrams tank had failed the trials.
I mean, the name of the ambassador was Rafael.
Yeah. So this tank had failed the trials. So since the tank had failed the trials and the Americans were insisting that Pakistani buy it, and Zia was the president, so he was bearing that. So he wanted the army guy who's going to sign the contract to come and have a look at the tank. So that is why this gentleman was summoned. And what transcripts one reads is, when this guy was trying to board that aircraft, he says, both of us should not be in the same flight, you come in a different one. So there is another talk which said that Zia never took his number 2 along with him, ever. So I will leave it at that. Possibly, yes, definitely done by rogues within the system. But that gentleman was possibly the most apolitical general Pakistan has ever had. You must know
that. So sometimes gems do come out from all these things. Manavsan wants to know, latest JK terror bust found 3,000 kgs of IED material. Does it show Munir wants to provoke new Sindoor to help him rally Pakistanis around him and facilitate his power grab? How do we handle this threat?
Firstly, 3,000 kg cannot, come out of nowhere. IED material, one has to be very clear as to what it is. RDX, which is generally the kind of explosive one looks at, one has seen being transshipped. Our intelligence is quite good, and I'm a little, I'm on air, and my mind is, at the moment looking at what is happening in Delhi, and I only hope it's not a IED, or I don't know. It could be because we haven't had a terrorist incident of this nature in mainland India for the last 15 years. So 3,000 kg IED material, 3,000 kgs is not accumulated in one go. Yes, does he want to provoke? Because I don't know. Will we go in immediately, or will we do it at our own time and space? Because it's not that you, and I think we spoke in the same show a couple of weeks back, or maybe a month back, when some question was asked, Sindoor, how does Sindoor go forward? It's not that an incident happens and the next day you go, bang, bang, bang with your aircraft. It doesn't happen that way. We will decide. But if he's done it at this time, or if he's planning to do it this time, it's at his own peril. Because November, December happens to be the most difficult time for Pakistan. Because it is, and especially this year, because there's been already snowfall in the upper reaches of the Himalayas. And the Chinese, even if they want, they can do nothing. So if the passes close on the Himalayas, then the Chinese will become bystanders. And if he tries to do something of this nature, the might of the Indian armed forces will descend upon him, because this happens to be our campaigning season. And if people have been watching the kind of activity that have tried services, activity that have been happening for the last 15, 20 days, the readiness levels of the Indian armed forces possibly is the best today, much better than what it was in May, June. So if he's trying something at this nature to be relevant, I'm sure he's digging his own grave, because I'm sure people will kill him inside Pakistan, because they will not be able to survive, especially with its western border still being active. And Taliban will use every iota to keep those forces which are on the western border fixed there. And that is the snow is not an issue there on that side. So he's digging his own grave if he is looking at an opportunity at this time. Yes, 5-6 months down the line, like April, May, it again becomes difficult, because standing crops in the fields, monsoon coming around, the passes open along the Himalayas, the Chinese still keeping pressure, possibly makes it difficult for the Indian army to deal with Pakistan with a whole might. But November, December, if he tries, well, I don't know. Interesting times.
Sir, just curiosity, 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, the Pakistani Punjabi farmers were also burning crops in solidarity with the Punjabis.
No, see, this something which people should understand. When you try to turn over crop very fast, and because I was in that period, that I have served in that area for a long time, the worst part is this is the period, October, November, when not only the fields are on fire, but we have fire alarms happening in all over the place. And I was commanding a formation there, and I was doing lot of support duties to ensure that fire services are given whatever support they need to quench these fires. So it's like a towering inferno going around, because these fires are uncontrollable many a times. So the farmer, whether he's on this side of the border or on that side of the border, he wants to turn around crops faster, because one extra crop means more money. Especially the cropping pattern being very similar in both western and eastern Punjab.
Of course.
So even the water, if you look at it generally, whether it is through Jhelum and Chenab for him, and Ravi and Satluj for us, the canals which are running from British times, they have been designed in that manner that they have water in this period of time. So that is why this cropping thing happens, and everybody, whether it is this side or that side, they follow the same system to burn it quickly so that stubble is out and they are able to. And I believe this carbon is something which enriches the soil also, so it works both ways. Yeah.
Sir, one interesting thing is about 2-3 years ago, before my friend Arvind Kumar had written an article in Sunday Guardian where he explains that because Punjab is planting 3 crops in a year, exactly to what you said. The first crop is rice. And he had said that Punjab doesn't need to grow rice anymore because other states have picked up. For example, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, they're all doing a lot of rice plantation now and growing it, and it's all for consumption in rice eating areas. So that, I don't know whether that has kind of sunk in, because what happens is, you said don't grow one crop, only 2 a year, there's a whole loss of revenue, there's that. I don't know how that is being managed, sir. I don't know if you have any.
Like when we were all in school, we were taught of only 2 crops, the Rabi and the
Exactly.
Kharif. So this
Right, Rabi and Kharif.
the third crop, which is being sowed between Baishakhi and September when the Kharif comes in.
Right.
So
Right.
there is, this crop was not there in the earlier time frame. So the second rice crop, and if you go to Punjab today and see these cold storages, you'll find there's no space to store. All these Raj mandis and all, this overloaded with rice. And if today the Indian government says free rations for that lot of people, it's because it's got so much of, and they have to buy it because
Correct. I completely understand the logic there. Yeah, I completely understand the logic there.
That possibly is the reason why we buy all this amount of crops.
This is what makes managing India so complex. It is not easy. It is not easy at all. Oh my God. So many things are happening, all going in different directions. General Harimohan Iyer, it was a wonderful discussion today. And viewers, General Harimohan Iyer, apart from gunner side, comes every alternate Wednesdays. He won't come this Wednesday, but he'll be here next Wednesday. And I look forward, that's a one-on-one between General Harimohan Iyer and I. And today was wonderful because we got the time to deal the thing in a much more in a inner, deeper way. How the Pakistani journal thinks. You got to know that.
Journals.
One last thought I want to leave for our viewers. My good friend Tariq, the other Tariq, not Tariq Tariq Gore, I think his name, Tariq Gora. He said he's Pakistan born, but he lives in Canada now. And he said that whenever he would visit Pakistan, and many of his colleagues and friends are probably in high places in government as well as in defense. Tahir Gora, thank you. And he said that when they are talking amongst themselves, right, usual stuff, right, over snacks and whiskey and all that stuff, everybody will be talking in Punjabi. The moment any of the children come, suddenly they'll switch to Urdu. I find this thing really hard to understand. Why, they have to suddenly give up their mother tongue and switch to Urdu. Sir, if you look at the average Punjabi Kisan in Punjab, right, in Pakistan, right, they only speak Punjabi. They don't speak Urdu.
So I was again on a space. Again, it was a Pakistani space, and there was a talk. And he says the Khalsas, the Sikhs who went out from Punjab and went to Indian Punjab, they took Punjabi along with them. And because the Punjabis had to take over, the Punjabi Muslims who were there in the Western Punjab, and they wanted an identity which was different from the identity of just being Punjab. So the early part of Pakistan, they brought this on language of Urdu, and they said since it is very similar to the Arabic, the lipi is very similar to Arabic, it gives them that identity. Whereas the Punjabi, the writing Punjabi is the one which is Gurmukhi basically.
Right,
which is what the Punjabis have taken, which is more closer to Hindi if you look at it.
Correct.
So they wanted, and they were trying to cut off with everything that was associating themselves with India, and that is what has grown to hurt them because today, and let me tell you this, and I think I said this on your show also, the most notorious people are Punjabi Muslims, the ones which are on the other side. They are notorious people. And that is why all these guys, whether it is Asim Munir or Zia-ul-Haq or Musharraf, they are all part of the same community. So, so they are the ones, and it is a good thing that they went there and they did not corrupt the system here. Though, if you look at it, the better part of Punjab, whether it was Lahore, the Rawalpindi, to a large extent Multan, they were better cities than Jalandhar, Amritsar, and
Oh yes, oh
Ghana
yes.
before independence. The prosperity was all on that side. You look at the
Yeah,
canal networks which was laid by the British, they were all favoring Western Punjab towards Eastern Punjab.
of course.
In
Right,
fact,
right.
there were hardly any waterways in Indian side during independence. So that is why when you look at Indus Water Treaty, a lot of people say, why did we sign it? Because we signed it because at that period of time there was no way we could have harnessed that kind of waterways within India because there were no canals. It is over the period of last 50, 60 years we have developed our own capacities, and today those canals need water, and that is why IWT needs to go.
Right. Yes. And indeed, viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And please like our videos when they start. Small request to all of you. General Harimohan Iyer, wonderful, wonderful conversation, sir. Thank you so much. We'll be back again with solo with General Harimohan Iyer, not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. Namaskar.